best way to look at it is it has 5 vertebrae. One of the reasons we have taken so long to work on it is that it stands for something. It's not just somebody saying a closed loop or something like that. It's much richer than that. We say, first, that we eliminate the concept of waste. So we don't like things like zero waste goals. We don't admit to the concept of waste. So we say everything is a nutrient. And the way we're defining cradle to cradle is that we parsed it that there's a biological nutrient or a technical nutrient. That's a fundamental distinction between just a closed loop. So we're just not recycling old PVC carpets or something and calling it cradle to cradle. That's not it. Recycling poison is not our game. So we are parsing materials into biological or technical nutrients. The second is that we want reverse logistics. We want the materials to be in these cycles. And we don't define it as take-back systems or closed loops and things like that. In some cases, it's that. Certainly in things like carpet, you can take it back because the truck goes out full and can come back full. That can make sense. But if I make a chair in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I send it to Mexico City, I'm not going to take it back to Grand Rapids. I'm designing it to come apart into its components with tools you could find in a kitchen drawer and take it apart in a few seconds. So this is aluminum, that's steel, that's polypropylene, that's polyester, so on. So that somebody takes it apart and puts it into what we call the intelligent material pools. So we're actually thinking of these things as pools of polyester, pools of aluminum, wherever they are. And because you don't want to have ridiculous logistics. And then we want renewable energy. So that's a criteria. We want it to be made with renewables. And it's not less carbon. We obviously have the condition of less carbon, but see, we don't see that as an energy problem. Carbon is not an energy problem. We don't have an energy problem. We have lots of energy. The problem is it's carbon-based. And the other problem we have is it's a material problem, not an energy problem. We have carbon in the wrong place. There's nothing wrong with carbon. Every one of you is carbon. If you want to be carbon-free, you should shoot yourself. You know? So, you know, and I don't understand why these businesses are all going, you know, carbon reductions. I mean, fine. But what I just heard too, you know, where all these zero goals. I mean, what's a zero goal? I can't understand a zero goal. I'm going to get up and be nothing. What is that? You know, we like positively defined goals. I mean, you don't get a jar of peanut butter and it says plutonium free. You know, what are we saying? We're selling what we're not? Carbon free? See, we have a problem. We have a material in the wrong place. It's in the atmosphere. It's in the oceans. It belongs in the soil. So we focus on recarbonization of soil. So it's renewable energy. And then we ask for clean water. The new standards and indices that are being developed and we heard about in these meetings call for, you know, reduce your water consumption. Well, that's nice, but if you're a textile mill on a river in China and you're pouring this black guck into the river and the kids can't swim and the fish are dead, and you say reduce your water consumption, what do? They pour their toxic garbage into the river, less diluted. What happened to the river? No difference. They use less water. With Cradle to Cradle, we design the chemistry of textile manufacturing to produce drinking water. We've done 5 factories like that. You can now drink the water coming out of the textile mill. I don't know how many of you have been in a textile mill, but it's pretty grim. You know, these are dye vats, hot dye vats, and rinsing baths, and fixatives, and mordants. I mean, mordants. Think of it. So we have it. You walk out at the end, take a glass, and it's better than Swiss drinking water. Why? Because we tackled the chemistry, not the water quantity. We're not just dealing with quantities, we're dealing with qualities. It's the quality of the water that matters. And then finally, we want social fairness and biodiversity and things like that. So it goes beyond green. It's really the next total quality management movement. It's based on ecological and human health. And it's based on quality, not just quantity. The problem with the total quality management movement and the eco-efficiency movement is that it's insufficient to the task at hand. If you reduce your carbon-based energy to some level, so what? You're still carbon. You haven't designed your way out of out of the box. So that's what cradle to cradle is. It's 5 fundamental criteria.
Are you more or less optimistic than you were 45 minutes ago in terms of where the government's going?
The thing that worried me, I'd say, in terms of what we tell our children, is this zero talk. Always going to zero. And all this thing about having a smaller footprint. To me, it's the opposite. I want a big footprint, but I want it to be positive. I want to leave behind a wetland. All this talk about, see, our problem is we design buildings with farms on the roof. What we're trying to do is leave behind something that makes oxygen. I want a positive footprint. So this whole efficiency movement is run out of gas from what we see with our clients.
But
it's insufficient.
It may be insufficient. I certainly won't argue with you there, but governments and companies don't flip a switch and transform.
Yeah.
They, and frankly, all of us, tend to change incrementally. Mm-hmm. So isn't there a case to be made that getting to zero, while not the ultimate goal, is a pretty good place to get, considering where we're coming from? And so I guess I'm asking because I don't want, I'm concerned about discouraging bold thinking.
Yeah, we don't do that here. I don't know if I can. I've been a windmill once. That was fun.
How about a teapot?
Yeah, I do teapots. But here's how we look at that chart. You look at all these corporate reporting, and they'll say, I have this much whatever waste, carbon, and then over the years I'm going to reduce it by 20%, by 2020 or something. And what you're measuring is something you don't want, and then you're showing how you're reducing it. It's not telling us where you're going, right? You're being less bad in this diagram, and that's not being good. It's being bad, but less so. Now, by definition, you're still bad. So what we do is we put it below the line. We say zero's down here, right? You're going to zero. And so what we do is we put all that measurement underneath. So you're being less bad and reducing your carbon, fine. But what we also record is on the top line, you're increasing your renewables. See? So you're now the less bad is a positive trajectory. You're heading toward the positive instead of heading for zero. And then that allows you your transition. So you say, I'm out with the bad air, in with the good air, above the line. And the reason that's so important is it gives us on every product, whether it's toxins or whether it's energy consumption or anything else, we can define the positive goal. See, if I'm going to zero, you have not defined your positive goal. You've told me what you're not. You're not carbon. That's not that helpful, right? If I have a jar of peanut butter and it says plutonium free, you're telling me what you're not. It's not that useful to me. So if I say, hey, let's go out for dinner, a non-chicken dinner tonight. Hey, what do you think?
I'm down with that.
It's a zero. It's a zero chicken dinner.
Okay.
We found out that there are 12 laws we had to break in China to wind power our factory. And we're relentless people. First law, you're not allowed to own a windmill. Well, that's a tough one. All right. Second, the grid will not take the wind power. 60% of China's wind power that they talk about all the time goes nowhere. The grid doesn't know how to receive it. They don't have load leveling. It's a nightmare. 60% out in the air. Gone. And then, so the grid won't take it. The power companies won't take it, et cetera, all the way to Tiananmen Square and the NDRC, setting the rates and so on. All these laws that don't allow these things to connect. It's truly amazing. Anyway, we're getting our windmills. And it's just amazing to watch how relentless the people at Procter & Gamble became once they were given a license. They all went, oh, we're going renewable? What, by 2050? Oh, 2050. Puh, I can get there faster than that. And they all get up and go. They got the license. You give those people a license and watch them run. It's fantastic. And so we follow the money. When we did the Ford Rouge, it's the world's largest green roof. I did it in Dearborn, Michigan. Well, I'll never forget, I walked into the boardroom for getting approval for this over $170 million project. No change in time, no change in budget. Right on the money. Ford's birthday, 100th birthday. And I walked into the boardroom, they'd give me a minute and a half to present. And then Bill Ford goes, oh, Bill, I bet they didn't give you much time, take twice as long. 3 minutes, good, okay. So I go in, I say, well, you know, I'm an architect, I'm an environmentalist, and the building I'm gonna show you is for the birds, and this is true. And this board is, you know, as we like to say, they're looking like hound dogs trying to read an algebra book. You know, it's like, who is this guy and what is he talking about? And, you know, there's Robert Rubin listening to this nonsense. It was so much fun. Anyway, then I said, but you're fiduciaries and you're in the car business. So let me speak in fiduciary and car. Our green roof and landscape is $13 million. The one you had budgeted and posted in your books to be spent, all designed, ready to go, push a button, was $48 million worth 3 chemical treatment plants, 4 miles of concrete pipe, chemicals that had to be bought and used all the time, 70 UAW workers standing around at $70 an hour praying it doesn't rain. That was your design, all underground, all stranded assets, right? Requiring constant funding. I said, look at this, now you've got 10.5 acres of habitat for birds, $13 million. We're saving you $35 million in CapEx, day one. And you're in the car business. The Ford Taurus coming out of Chicago is at a 4% margin. So this is the equivalent of giving you an order for $900 million worth of cars. Do you want it or not? Approved. Next. That was it. Follow the money.
But I don't know how to insinuate that into my organization, lest I have senior management doing the hound dog algebra thing. And because I start talking about cradle to cradle and closed loops and industrial technical nutrients, and first of all, I can barely articulate it. I think there are a lot of I hear this a lot. This is why I'm channeling a lot of my friends in the room that say, I don't know how to begin.
Well, I think the first thing you can do now, we gave the program over to the public.
And what is that called?
It's called the Cradle to Cradle Product Innovation Institute. It's in San Francisco. There will be one in Israel. There'll be one in Holland. There'll be one in Denmark. There'll be one in the UK. And I'm doing China right now. So we'll probably have a couple hundred in China. And you go there, and it has our databases. See, one of the things that we're kind of quirky, we keep the databases of all the things that are good for you. When you go to a toxicologist, they have all the things that are going to kill you. And they have dose and duration. It's all risk chemistry. So they'll look at a red chemical like cadmium and say, oh, you can wear a red shirt if the cadmium is below some threshold of giving you cancer, below some threshold. And that's risk and dose and duration. We have to remember 2 things, though. You know, water is highly toxic. Did you realize that? See, under dose and duration, you surround yourself with 6 minutes, you're gone, right? Very large dose, very long duration, and you are dead. You could jump out of an airplane, hit the water with terminal velocity at 120 miles an hour. Very short duration, very large volume, highly toxic, right? You're dead. So, you know, that's how they look at it, dose and duration. We use precautionary principle. So we'll look at cadmium being used in a dye for a little kid's red shirt, 1,000 times more toxic than lead, by the way. And the dose and duration, people say, yeah, but the dose, it's below a legal threshold. And we look at it and go, why would you put cadmium in the biosphere? That's so stupid. You know, and so we have the list. We have 18 ways to make any fabric, polyethylene, hemp, cotton, wool, I don't care, anything bright red. We know all the chemicals, and they're all safe. The kid could suck on his sleeve all afternoon. Doesn't matter. Why not? Why would we not make it nutrition? That's what we're doing through the U.S. Postal Service. We have now, cradle to cradle certified, 28 billion objects.
Envelopes.
Yeah, envelopes, boxes for U.S. Postal Service. It used to be if a kid sucked on that red corner on a UPS priority mailbox, they had a totally undefined future. Ridiculous. So now they suck on it, they get nutrition. Why not? We can do that.